This week on Culture Q,
Cardi B officiates a lesbian wedding.
we check out what happened at the Banji Ball.
And Drag Race UK star Charity inspires us all.
It's Lalwani here.
And I'm Shira Lazar. This is Culture Q.
And here are some of the highlights this week in queer culture. Well, if you had Cardi B and Raven-Symoné perform a televised lesbian wedding on your bingo card this year, baby, you're a winner. In the most recent episode of Cardi Tries on Facebook, the rapper took a stab at officiating a wedding because why not? The lucky couple includes now wives Brandy and Shannon, who got the shock of a lifetime because for Shannon, the whole wedding was a surprise. Cardi also got former Cheetah Girl and current Raven-Symoné star Raven-Symoné to join in on the action, and she couldn't have been happier to be a part of it.
Being a part of a same-sex marriage, I think, is important, so people see that, there's differences obviously, but there's also similarities.
The episode, which aired just in time for National Coming Out Day, is packed with fun, but also some really emotional moments. One of the brides-to-be opened up about how her coming out affected relationships with her family, referencing how her own mom refused to attend their ceremony because she doesn't agree with the lifestyle. But Cardi came with tons of love and encouragement, sharing her own mother's journey to acceptance within her family.
Me seeing how my mom is with my sister girlfriend, my mom really had a tough time in the beginning. I think she loved my sister girlfriend more than she loved us.
Raven also opened up about what a layered journey coming out can be for people in the queer community, pointing out that sometimes parents don't come around and stressing the importance of our chosen family.
Having that person embrace you as a whole human, not just because you're my baby and I love you.
Now the wedding was just as wacky and beautiful as we all thought it would be, and many are happy to see Cardi using her platform in such an inclusive and powerful way.
By the power vested in me by the state of California and my online course, I now pronounce you wife and wife. Come on!
On October 11th, we celebrated both National Coming Out Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. So we wanted to highlight LGBTQ voices in the Indigenous community here in North America. Formerly known as Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day is a holiday that celebrates the vibrant lives of Native peoples and is meant to honor their histories, customs, and cultures. Recently, Jesus Tarango, chairman of the tribe Wilton Rancheria near Sacramento County, sat down with journalist Vicky Gonzalez to say what the holiday means to him.
I think it's a day where we are finally able to celebrate the ancestors that we know we come from, but also give the people of this great nation a chance to understand who we are. And I think that's what, for me, the real movement of Indigenous People Day is to educate the people.
And one of those people educating all of us is Canada's Drag Race star Ilona Verley. On their season, they proudly blazed trails by representing their culture and made history talking about their experience being Two-Spirit, an Indigenous term they explain here.
Growing up, I was so in this mindset of you are male, you have to be male. Then as I grew up and got more involved in my own culture, I learned about being queer and being Two-Spirit, which means finding yourself in between the male and the female energy, but acknowledging both of them.
Sharing their story on such a large platform not only educated all of us, but also offered some much needed on-screen representation. And if Drag Race wasn't enough, they went on to be named one of Out's most influential LGBTQ people, and even went on to grace the cover of Vogue. Another person breaking boundaries is Sharente Mishatashin Harris, the subject of the new documentary, Being Thunder. The documentary follows Harris, a 21-year-old Two-Spirit powwow dancer who's been breaking boundaries in their community.
I created change when I was 16 years old and began dancing at powwows in a style traditionally performed only by women.
In a culture that's so deeply tied to its customs and traditions, it took a lot of courage for them to come out and live their truth. And it's something that they don't take lightly. They explain that while many people within their own community are accepting of their Two-Spirit identity, there are still those who criticize and just don't understand. And while their decision to open up about their experience wasn't an easy one, it was definitely necessary. Well, hats off to all those trailblazers. And if you want to check out the Being Thunder documentary, it's airing at the LGBTQ Film Festival New Fest in New York and also streaming online.
Last week, the Banji Ball celebrated its 8th anniversary in Los Angeles. And because of that, we sent our girl, Arise Wanzer, our favorite correspondent, to get some action on the red carpet. Check it out.
All right, I'm Ari Swanzer at Culture Q, and we are at the 8-year anniversary of the Banji Ball, raising money for the LGBT Center. Hello, Gravity Jacobs. How are you, gorgeous?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing. Don't I look amazing? Are you excited to be here?
I'm very excited.
Are you walking anything today?
We'll see. I did not bring a prop. If I can find one in the next 2 hours, I will be walking. I'm just here to support, maybe walk LSS, just be here.
Everyone watched you on Legendary. I know I did. Yeah. You don't look like you're walking any categories.
Oh, I'm not walking tonight.
I can tell because it's a button up. Oh, you can't move in this. You can't move in this.
I'm definitely excited to be here for the Banji Ball's anniversary. I love Isla, you know what I'm saying? So I'm here to just support my sister and her movement, you know, because here in Ballroom, we need to support everyone.
Well, you're not dressed like you're going to perform tonight.
Absolutely not. I perform for history. It's in the books. I like to say this at all points in time. Be so passionate about believing in who you are. Don't worry about what other people see. Just believe in you. The power to success is knowing who you are. And Ballroom teaches that. Look what Ballroom has done and elevated throughout the world.
Well, you look incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you for your beautiful words. Kevin Jay-Z Prodigy, how you doing, baby?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm in the building. I'm ready.
What brings you here tonight?
Everything that's going on, the whole scene, the world. I was ready to get out there and give it to these bitches.
You're performing?
Yeah, I'm commentating tonight.
I'm excited!
Yes, it is. Oh,
I
yeah.
put on a show, bitch. What are you giving the kids? Give us a hint.
A lot of kitty cats and purrs, and this is what I want to feed and all that good stuff.
Well, this pussy is ready.
Well, it's a really exciting night because it's the 8-year anniversary of the Banji Ball, and Revry and QueerX is proud to be a sponsor of tonight's festivities and function.
Well, that was absolutely fabulous. Happy birthday, Banji Ball. Back to you all at the studio.
And if you want to catch more of the Banji Ball, head to the Instagram page of @BanjiBall or check it out on Revry's YouTube channel.
There are a lot of clowns in the news this week, and I'm not talking about the circus. I'm talking about these absolute shit shows who just can't seem to help themselves. First on the list is comedian and self-professed TERF, Dave Chappelle. Chappelle dropped a new Netflix stand-up special, The Closer, and it was met with less than enthusiastic response. And for good reason. It's transphobic AF. And this is far from the first time the comedian has been called out. He's had a long history when it comes to telling jokes at the expense of trans people, and this last special was no exception. He goes on to rant about the so-called cancellation of J.K. Rowling and her TERF title, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminism.
They started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what the fuck that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments.
He goes on to compare the trans existence to blackface and makes other extremely crude remarks about the community we'd rather not mention here. A trans Netflix employee, Tara Field, went on a Twitter rant condemning the special, writing this: "Promoting TERF ideology directly harms trans people. It is not some neutral act. This is not an argument with two sides. It is an argument with trans people who want to be alive and people who don't want us to be." She goes on to list the names of dozens of trans people murdered in America. And guess what? She has since been suspended by Netflix. Wait, what? Yep, not only did they do that, but co-CEO Ted Sarandis issued a statement that was clearly written by a white cis hetero man saying this: "We don't allow titles on Netflix that are designed to incite hate or violence, and we don't believe The Closer crosses that line. I recognize, however, that distinguishing between commentary and harm is hard, especially with stand-up comedy, which exists to push boundaries. Some people find the art of stand-up to be mean-spirited, but our members enjoy it, and it's an important part of our content offering." Okay, the worst response ever. But Chappelle and Netflix aren't the only ones engaging in buffoonery this week. North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson made some pretty upsetting comments, resulting in a shit show of his own. Back in June, the government official visited a small-town Baptist church in his home state and went on a passionate, religiously fueled speech against LGBTQ education.
There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. And if you don't like it that I called it filth, come see me and I'll explain it to you.
Well, I certainly don't like it, and I will not be staying after class for any more of this crazy. Thank you very much. The Lieutenant Governor's remarks are not only offensive, but if you didn't catch it, he used the word transgenderism, which GLAAD has deemed a derogatory term towards trans folks, promoting the idea that their existence is a condition. And of course, Robinson couldn't be more unbothered by this. In a recent interview with Spectrum News, he just couldn't stop.
It doesn't matter to me what the definition of hate speech is. I said what I said, and I believe what I said, and many of the people across this state feel the exact same way.
Ah, the classic GOP double down. Every Republican's favorite combo at Chick-fil-A. He continued to get it wrong in a later interview with WRAL, claiming homosexuality is a sexual preference, and sexual preferences, I believe, do not need to be discussed in our schools. And of course, LGBTQ advocates and the left are demanding that he resign. North Carolina Senator Jeff Jackson condemned Robinson in a tweet, writing this: "There's no debate here. This is open discrimination. It is completely unacceptable. Mark Robinson should resign." And even with all of that, local officials, the community asking for him to resign, he continues to stand his ground.
I do not intend to resign. And in fact, I tend to double down on my efforts against these things that are going on in our classrooms. Those folks can continue to call for my resignation, but that is not going to happen.
Okay, well, sometimes I wish cancel culture actually existed. These two just need to step away from the world and handle themselves, okay? But enough with those two. What's going on in sports, Andy?
Well, Shira, Tom Daley recently spoke out and made major headlines when he called out homophobic countries and their participation in the Olympics. In an acceptance speech at the 2021 Attitude Awards, the gold medal winner celebrated the queer representation in the 2021 Tokyo Games this summer, before reminding us there's still a long way to go.
These past Olympic Games, there were more out LGBT athletes than any of the previous Olympics combined, which is a great step forwards, yet there are still 10 countries that punish being gay with death, that we're still allowed to compete at the Olympic Games.
Daley continued saying it would be his mission to try and get these countries banned from competing in the games before the next Summer Olympics hosted by Paris in 2024. But according to the 27-year-old, it's not just the world of diving or figure skating, it's the whole sports industry that needs a wake-up call. Forbes recently named Qatar as the 8th most dangerous place in the world for LGBTQ people. So yeah, maybe don't let them host an event that expects to sell over 3 million tickets. Daley went on to say what a move like this would do for athletes in these countries, and what a difference being out can make when it comes to competing.
I am incredibly lucky to come from Great Britain, where I am able to be my true authentic self and compete without worry of ramification. And I feel like wherever you are born, you should be able to have that stress taken away from you.
Yes, go Tom. Love what he's doing. It's so needed. And speaking of changing the world, let's check out this week's Culture Q inspiration. Drag Race UK Season 3's resident spooky queen, Charity Kase, got vulnerable this week. She revealed to her sisters and the world that she's been living with HIV since she was 18 years old. In the workroom, Kase opened up to fellow castmate Kitty Scott-Claus about her status and talked through some of the nasty and degrading responses she's received.
I didn't even really know what HIV was. And the stigma that I have felt is you have got a disease and it is dirty and you should be ashamed.
Getting emotional, she went on to say how drag helped save her and pulled her out of a really dark time before educating the audience about what life with HIV really looks like.
I take 3 tablets a day and I live a normal life expectancy and I am undetectable. That means that the virus cannot be passed on from me. This is major steps towards controlling the virus.
Those who love the series took to social media thanking the queen for her bravery, tweeting up a storm. One fan posted, "Charity Kase being so open and honest about her HIV status was incredible last night. What a brave, resilient, and inspirational person." Another wrote, "Charity Kase talking about contracting HIV and being undetectable is a much needed conversation in media." And I mean, yeah, we could not agree more. Within the queer community today, we are still fighting to end the stigma of an HIV-positive diagnosis. Many remain undereducated and afraid, so these moments of visibility are really so important.
From it blossomed me and blossomed Charity, and I wouldn't change my experiences for the world because I'm really proud of who I am today.
Oh, I just love that. Thank you so much for inspiring all of us and the drag community, Charity.
Absolutely could not agree more. And that's the end of our show this week, sadly. It's Andy Lalwani signing off.
And I'm Shira Lazar. Thank you again for hanging out with us this week.
And be sure to catch Culture Q each Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.